the packet. Are you TCP because your protocol is 6? Or is your protocol 6 because you are TCP? The packet simply replied, nah, I'd live. For unbeknownst to the router, the packet was not unicast and has an anycast destination address.
Hello?
In that moment, the packet thought it would truly be routed, but it didn't know 2 key things. 1, always bet on the router. 2, the router knew that the packet's time to live had reached 0.
Yes, it is. Holy shit. What is wrong with the text? But, hello. I just got done with my VR chat stuff. And, like, I don't know. Wait. Let me turn off all of my mods. That might be a problem with this. That might be why everything is broken. But, yeah, I don't know how I feel about VR chat. Maybe it was just, like, a slow day, or I'm very tired or something. Okay. No. I actually have no idea. so my mods did not turn off. Oh, I see why. Okay. Attempt number 3. But, yeah, I've been doing 2 things. Maybe I'm gonna try VR chat tomorrow and see if it's any better. I'll just do VR chat. But I don't know. I was so out of it today. There we go. Now the text is normal. Who the hell is this? Oh, my fucking god. Is this a Belong Wonderworld character? That game, that was, like, really terrible. Yeah, I'm thinking. But what I did earlier today. I was just in Discord talking. Talking, like, with a voice thingy. Trying to get used to just talking normally. I'm thinking of starting to use that along with streaming. But I don't know. I still don't like the idea I'm using on. I don't like the idea of using one. But it will completely eliminate the TTS fucking up every 2 seconds. I might try it one time and just see how it is. But, yeah, I think tomorrow, I will do just the VR chat. And then after that, I'll do Plants vs. Zombies. And then the thing with Kiwi. Maybe. And then after that, I want to at least finish one more brand new game. Start to finish on stream. By the end of the year. The remastered one. Because I said earlier, I wanna start finishing more games. Okay. I wanna see the new stuff. Wait. These are kind of overpowered. I have a ton of games that I need to play. I used to until I actually play them. I need to just, like, actually play them. Okay. What did they add? This is like the X battles from Splatoon. It's not even out yet. I want to test the new stuff. So now you get rings when you take damage. That's how I feel about basically every game I play. Almost every game, I'm like, this is probably a bad stream game. You're so slow with this gadget on. Oh, yeah, look at that. So this game is so loud. That's also a problem I have. There's a lot of games where I want to stream them, but I think I would enjoy them more just playing by myself. What would be good with double items? I wonder. Maybe this one. But then you don't have another slot. Actually, I have an idea. Oh, this doesn't work either. Maybe something like that. I really don't know if this would be good at all.
Hello, everyone.
It seems like everybody is trying random shit. Oh, I'm in, like, a super low-rated lobby. Okay. It seems you still want to just sit in last place. If you're doing this,
Incredible!
bagging is still like supposed to do.
Nice!
Bagging is still overpowered. Wait. You get so much, I got so much for winning. Did they change it? It goes up to 100,000 now instead of 10,000. But it still seems like you just wanna run. Instability. Also, I think this is going to be a super short stream because I just kinda want check this out. I'm very sleepy. So I don't have, like, the energy to be entertaining right now. Oh, shit. Wait. I forgot about the. I'll fix it after. Is it fixed? Also, I'm going deaf. This game is so loud for. I need to hear this music right now.
Crush my clock with a rock I must. Maximum pain I must endure. Okay, here we go.
Hey guys!
I gotta add more videos. There's actually a lot I have to do.
Nice!
Welcome to Windows XP from Microsoft, the new version of Windows that brings your PC.
Christian, what you doing, bro?
Look at this projector in the box. Put my dick in the box.
bro, I'm dead as fuck.
Title of the video is correct. This is a game
But I
called
got till I
Chair
got
Fucking
to Lost in the League of Legends sauce. To, like, work on stream stuff properly.
Steven, what are you doing in there?
Drugs.
I'm currently in my 2-week-long League of Legends obsession that's gonna last, like, 2 weeks.
Do it again. Which one has the juiciest pussy? Which non-binary sea creature has the juiciest pussy? Which cheesecake has the juiciest pussy? Which British dish has the juiciest? Which breakfast has the Which meal has the juiciest? Which slime has the juiciest? Which bidet are you using to? Did you know Labubus have hops? Which pastry has the juicy? Which Haribo has the? Which dish has the juice? Which donut has the? Which Christmas treat has the? Which Halloween candy has the juiciest?
The people of GM Construct are going crazy that President Obama was constantly spawning explosive barrels. And then on top of that, he spawned hunter choppers and bouncy balls. You can't do it. It's lagging the server.
Who's still doing? Are you busting right now or something with me?
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Joseph Matthews, and in this little tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to be funny. And it's actually going to be much easier than you think. These are just some simple tricks that I use.
This is a good
to add
video.
humor to any interaction. I know that
We
this
should
will work
watch
really
the
well,
entire thing.
Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about is how serious humor really is. You know, if you can't be funny when you're talking to someone, you really can't be all that interesting. The fact of the matter is, the funnier you are, the more fun you're going to be, and the more people want to hang out with you. So, you know, you need to be as funny as you possibly can in order to attract the most attention. But the thing is that you don't have to be funny all the time. You know, you just need to be funny when it's appropriate. And some well-placed laughter will bond a lot of good feelings to you from, you know, the people that you want to basically impress. So the first thing I want to talk about is how humor is really a sign of intelligence. You see, only smart people really know how to be funny on purpose, okay? And when you make people laugh, they subconsciously associate your ability to be humorous with a high intelligence. And this puts you in a position of authority. And this is really important because, you know, if people hold you in high regard, that gives you a higher social status. And we all know women are attracted to people with a high social status. It's in their nature. So the funnier you are, the higher you can raise your social standing in pretty much any situation you find yourself in. Hey guys, and here's another key that I really want to hammer home, and that's the idea that you don't have to be funny to be humorous. Don't worry about trying to be funny, okay? It really doesn't matter. A lot of what you say to be funny will not work, and the reason for that is that everyone has a different sense of humor, okay? Just being goofy and lighthearted will generate the same type of emotion that funny people do, even if you don't make people laugh. Okay? The idea here is that you want to project the intent of being funny. So that kind of takes the pressure off in the sense that, you know, you don't have to actually perform. You don't actually have to make people laugh. You don't have to actually punch people. You just have to have the intention to make people laugh and make people happy. They'll pick up on that. Another big thing is, I don't want you to be afraid of yourself, okay? Being funny is fun. You won't always succeed, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, okay? Now, in our efforts to be funny, you know, stuff happens. Sometimes you might insult somebody, sometimes you might take something too far, so that stops being funny. Sometimes you might say something inappropriate, upset your parents. You know, this is going to happen if you want to try and be a humorous guy, because being funny is about taking chances, about doing stuff and sometimes it can backfire on you. But if this happens, don't worry about it. Just apologize and move on, you know? If you say something that's inappropriate or insulting, just say, like, in all seriousness, I'm really sorry. Right? That's all you need to do is talk. So don't worry about messing up, because everyone knows what it's like to try to be funny. You have to get everyone at some point. So if you just acknowledge it, you ask for their forgiveness, and you usually do it. And another thing I want to point out is the fact that humor is not hard to do. A lot of people think it is, but it isn't. The truth of the matter is that anybody can do it. If you think you aren't funny or entertaining, will be. I believe that it's possible for you to be a funny guy even if you aren't. I know a lot of guys out there are saying like, oh my gosh, I'm so good at this personality. So get rid of that belief right now. It's possible for you to overcome that. Even if you're like the most boring guy on earth, like a monotone Einstein type voice, you know this guy talking about. So even if you're that guy, you can still be humorous. Okay? You just have to go with it. You can't be putting that belief that you're just not a funny guy. Everyone will be, I'm sure. Hey guys. Okay. Let's talk about the elements of humor. These are just quick and easy things that I personally find funny when I'm around him. And I'm pretty sure you can too. Hey guys. Okay, the first one I want to hammer on is this concept I call immaturity. Okay? Basically, immaturity is that, everything that was funny in the first grade is still funny when you're an adult. Okay, grown adults acting like children isn't funny, but grown adults talking like children is. So, if you're like throwing a temper tantrum or whatever because you didn't get your way, no one's going to find that funny. But if you start talking like a baby, but you still act like an adult, that is funny. So, let's just go over a few examples here. If you were ever a kid and you're on the playground and someone took your toy and you got mad at them, you'd say, you're a doo-doo head, okay? And when you were a kid, saying stuff like you're a doo-doo head was funny. So let's take that now when you're like a grown man. Let's say a girl says or does something you don't like and you just kind of look at her and squint your eyes and say, you're a
doo-doo head.
That can be funny, all right? Another thing is, for instance, girls are icky. How many times growing up did you and your friends run around saying girls are icky? All right, everyone's heard this stuff. Women who've been around kids have heard this stuff. So like let's say a woman comes to you and says like, hey, I've got a friend I really want to hook you up with. You can just tell her, ooh, girls are icky. Or something like that. It really doesn't matter. You're just taking stuff that sounds immature and you're applying it to your grown-up adult persona. Another thing is you got cooties. Okay, that's a big kind of thing that immature kids run around talking about. So like let's say you're out on a date with a girl and she's having you're having dinner and she says, oh my god, the mashed potatoes are so good, you gotta try some. And she holds out her fork for you to like try a little bit of potatoes, and you just say, ooh, no, you got cooties. Stuff like that. Like, it might not get like a big belly laugh. Sometimes it can be if it's unexpected, but most of the time, it's something that's like fun, mature, humor. So, again, the creating this feeling that you're going to be a playful type guy. Talk. The next concept I have, I couldn't think of a really good way to kind of encapsulate this in words, so I call it going flat. This is really a lame Spaceballs reference. If you've ever seen the movie Spaceballs, they have light speed, they have hyperspeed, and then they have plaid. And going plaid means that you're going so fast that you actually turn the color plaid. And basically, I use this concept to explain that take a complaint or criticism that someone makes of you, and you own it. And then once you own it, you take it way further than anyone ever really expected you to. Okay? So, let me give you an example. Let's say you're out with a girl and you say something kind of stupid, and she says, cut the cord. She says it in like a funny way. She doesn't mention it. Oh, you're such a dork. You can respond to that by saying, you're right, I am a dork. I'm the king of the dork. In fact, we always get together once a year and have an election. I go and talk to all 4 years in a row. And wait till you see my Star Wars figurines collection back in 20 years. So hot, you'll be able to resist my dork all the time. That's what I mean by going flat, is you take something that could be considered something like negative, and not only do you own it, you take it to its most ridiculous extreme. So, let's say you say something and a girl says, "Oh my God, you're weird," and you take that and you're like, "You're right. I'm the weirdest guy you ever meet." In fact, I bottled my own urine and put it in my refrigerator and label it based on the time of day and what month it was. And that's not weird at all. I just think that it's kind of cool. So you take stuff and you bring it to an extreme, and maybe the urine thing, I just did that off the top of my head. Maybe the urine thing was going a bit too far, but you see what I'm saying. If a girl says you're weird, you say, "You're right, I am weird, but you must be weird too because you're hanging out with me." You take it, you go to the extreme. Another one is when a girl says, "Oh my God, you're so mean." This will happen a lot if you do a lot of teasing. So if you're teasing a girl, she'll be like, "You're so mean. Why are you being mean to me?" And you just look at her and you just say, because I'm a mean person. Duh. I mean, what are you, stupid? Of course I'm mean. I'm the meanest guy you're ever going to meet, You must be a masochist because when you hang out with me, I'm going to be so mean to you. So that's what you got to do when you go plaid, is you got to own the stuff that people say about you, and you got to take it as far as you possibly can.
Aww.
Hey guys. Okay, the next kind of concept I want to talk about is dick and fart jokes, otherwise known as racy humor. Okay, now a lot of guys kind of shy away from this stuff, but you can't be afraid to joke about inappropriate stuff with women. Okay, sometimes guys are afraid that it might be too sexual and it might scare the girl off or whatever, but the fact of the matter is girls love dirty jokes as much as guys. And, in the off chance that they don't, if it is inappropriate or it's not their type of humor, once you find that out, shy away from it. Don't do it again. But you should always not be afraid to kind of go out and give it a try. So some of the things I like to kind of lump in with the whole dick and fart joke mentality is exaggerating what women, find attractive. Okay? So, like, let's say that women like tall guys. All women like tall guys. Let's say you're a woman who does like tall guys. Like, oh my God, you're so into tall guys. Like everyone will admit it. That's what you can do. And you can point out, like, really tall guys and be like, you see that guy right there, over there? Yeah, he's not tall enough for you. He could be like, basketball player. He's not tall enough for you. You like taller guys. So take some stuff that women like and exaggerate it. Accuse them of being sexual abusing. This always works really, really well. I don't know why, but when you look at a girl and start accusing her of doing a bit of crazy stuff, one of two things will happen to either completely deny it, or she'll play along with it to take it further. Okay, so that totally seems like you're just or you just ultimately be like, oh my God, like you're such a dominator, you have like a switch scaring me, like I really don't want to right now. So like that's the type of stuff that another thing is talk about how they want to rape you or take advantage of you. This is a little bit of a role reversal thing. So a big fear that women have when they're dating guys is that they're going to be raped and they're going to be taken in some way. You can actually use this to your advantage by playing around and saying stuff like, say like, didn't slip a routine in this with you because the last thing I want to do is wake up in bed and find out that someone's taking advantage of me. Or if you do drink, you say like, are you trying to get me drunk because I'm not that type of guy? Stuff like that. You want to kind of accuse her of being the one trying to get you into bed, or trying to take advantage of you in some way. And this is funny, but it also has like some underlying sexual tension aspects to it, which
where did I miscalculate?
Really Another thing is to make fun of bodily noises. Like everyone thinks,
I
fart noises
probably
are funny.
have, like,
And,
20
you
minutes
can sit
max
there and
on
be like,
emails.
with your mouth just go, and then accuse her of being farting. Just look at her and be like, ew, I can't believe
Anyways.
you. And it's funny because it's obvious you're the one doing it, but you're accusing her, so it gets some laughs. And the last one is to accuse women of having outrageous fetishes. Okay, and this is stuff that where you take the most mundane thing and you turn it into a fetish. Okay, so for instance, let's say that you're talking to a girl and she's complaining about having to go to the optometrist to get her eyes examined, and you can say something like, you don't fool me, I know your secret, you have an optometrist fetish, like you have optometrist porn at home that you secretly jerk off to, and you can't wait to go to the optometrist because you're in love with the optometrist. You take mundane stuff and turn it into a fetish, lots of girls love to shop for shoes. So you say, oh my god, you have such a shoe fetish. If those shoes were like a man, you'd totally have sex with them. That's what I mean by turning stuff into outrageous fetishes.
Hi!
Hey guys. Okay, recall humor. Recall humor is basically taking what was funny once and continue to have it be funny again. And this is really where inside jokes come from. So basically, take something that you both thought was funny, that you both laughed at, and reference it again whenever you want it to be funny again. Let me give you some examples of this from my own life. There's a TV show on USA Network, it's called Psych, and it's about this guy who pretends to be a psychic and helps the police solve murders or whatever. And there's a lot of really funny lines in this show, and me and a girl, she used to come over to my place and watch the show with me because I got her into it. And there was one episode where there was a line that the main character used, and he basically said, "Are you a fan of the religious flavor?" And me saying it right now, it's not all that funny, but in context, it really was. So me and the girl laughed really hard at that. And so every time I'd call her up, I'd start off the conversation by saying, "Hey, are you a fan of delicious flavor?" And she'd say, "Yes, I am." And I'd be like, "Then I got a treat for you." And I thought that was something cool that we were doing. So that's a good example of recall humor, where you take an experience that the two of you shared, two of you had a really good laugh at, and you bring it up and you apply it to other stuff. Another example of this is, if you've ever seen the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall, kind of a romantic comedy, there's a part in there where this guy basically the guy says, "You sound like you're from London."
How long?
Does this impersonation of the British accent, like, "You sound like you're from London."
Hello.
I went to go see this movie with a girl when it was out in the theaters, and this girl couldn't stop laughing when the character said that. She just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So every time I get together with her thereafter, one of the first things out of my mouth is I'd look at her and I'd say, "You sound like you're from London." And she'd just start laughing and she'd smile and stuff like that. It was fun. It was recall humor. But it doesn't always have to be like, lines from TV shows or movies or something like that. It could be something that someone said. It doesn't even have to be all that funny. Like, for instance, I used to date this girl, and she would have to work in the morning, so she couldn't, go out to it or whatever. So basically, by 10 o'clock or what have you, she'd have to be at home in bed. And she used to say, that if she doesn't get home in time, she's going to turn into a pumpkin. So I would use that. Whenever we were out, I'd look at the time and say, uh-oh, you're only a couple minutes away from turning into a pumpkin or something along those lines. And it was, it's this kind of fun thing where you have this inside joke that, no one else really gets except the two of you, because you're the only ones that really experience that. So, if you've ever had that experience with a girl, be sure to call it back up and use it when you need to.
I think it's genuinely impressive.
Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is ambivalence, and this is actually one of my favorite ways to be funny.
How often I fall off the map.
What ambivalence is it's basically
but only in
you
online.
look forward to something bad happening, or you take pleasure in someone else's misfortune, and you're also kind of unresponsive to bad things.
Never
And
ever
the
fall
reason
off
that,
the map
this
when I'm
works is
playing.
because these
Just
types
by
of
myself.
reactions are really shocking and surprising, and because they're so unexpected, they are therefore funny. I'm going to use
But
an
then the
example of
second
this.
I
If
play
you've ever seen the
online,
movie
I
Private
fall
Parts
off the
by
map
Howard
3
Stern,
times a race.
there's a whole scene in there where he talks about being in Vietnam and thinking it's unfair that that they miscounted the number of confirmed kills he got, because what he did was he went and he found a school full of Vietnamese children, threw a grenade in there and killed like 80 of them. And when his sergeant came to count the bodies, he said, Private Stern, these are kids, that counts as 1 kill. So this kind of horrible story about going to a school and killing like 80 children, and being upset that it only counts as like 1 kill, that's an example of ambivalence. You're taking this horrible act in wartime, no less.
Also,
and bragging about
today
it and
is
being
kind of a
upset
slow
that, you
day.
didn't get credit for killing all those children. So that's kind of an example of
not really a
ambivalence,
whole
where,
lot going on.
You take something bad and you actually kind of take some type of delight in it. So a little bit of a better example of this, like let's say you're talking to a girl.
I
she's
was going to
complaining
play
about
Plants
how she works
vs.
really hard, but
Zombies.
she never has any money. She's like, oh, I'm so poor. You can take a lot of glee in that. You can be like, yeah, looks like you're gonna have to start, stripping
But
or
then
walking
I
the
just
streets or
kind
something
of
like
didn't.
that. You're gonna need to make some extra money. You just kind of take pleasure in the fact that she's poor, and you start kind of trying to get her to do all these terrible things to make money. Like looks like you're gonna have to be a drug mule. I'm gonna have to fly you down to Mexico and shove condoms full of cocaine up your butt and then take you back across the border in order to help you pay a rent.
I played VR chat earlier, and I
that's a good
haven't
example
played
of
VR
ambivalence.
in so long.
Another thing is basically being unresponsive to
That,
stuff like, for instance,
like,
the whole
it
global
was
warming thing. Like,
disorienting.
people are all about global
To
warming.
play it
We gotta save
again.
the planet. We gotta like do this. We gotta do that. And you could be like, screw global warming. I'm cold now. It's like I want it to be hot. Like I want the world to be warm. It's freaking cold out. I don't like it. So that's another example of ambivalence. The ambivalence really stems from just like being lazy and not caring. And that's how this thing works. Everything that's good to you, like you just feel like, whatever. Here's another thing I call it cool. I'm not saying that gay people are bad or whatever, but you gotta admit that gay people are funny. They're good. Masculine things is always to laugh. And stories are also always much funnier when they're told in a gay voice. So, whenever you're hanging out with a girl or whatever, and you start talking gay, she's gonna enjoy it. She's gonna laugh because it's something that's like different from who you really are. So, like sometimes I'll be like, hey, it's gay story time, and then like I'll tell like a story that I can't tell anyone, but just do it in a gay voice. I'll say something like, oh honey, you don't even know, like, oh my god, this man, that guy, oh my god, I can't believe he said that. I'll just go off and I'll riff, I'll do it in a gay voice. And women, I don't know why, they always love it. I don't even think my gay voice is all that good. And another great way to use gay names is to pretend to be one of her girlfriends. When a girl starts talking about, something that she's normally talking about her girlfriend, I'll be like, hey, pause a minute. I'm gonna take my balls and put them in an imaginary jar here. Like, okay, put my balls away. Fully your girlfriend. Oh, sweetie, what's the problem? So it would be funny if you laugh and start going.
Excellent performance.
So you can do a lot of stuff about like emasculating yourself, acting gay, talking gay. Women like it. Another thing, ridicule, teasing. here's an interesting fact, is that people hate being made fun of more than made fun of. They hate ridicule or target. However, people love it when other people are made fun of, especially people that they personally don't like. Okay? So, you know, let's say you're sitting down with a girl in a restaurant for dinner, and your waiter's like, you know, a real jerk, or he's not a very good waiter, or whatever. You could start making fun of that waiter. You know, just start, you know, ridiculing the guy. Don't do it when he's around, but as soon as he leaves, just turn to the girl and just be like, oh my god, that guy's asshole is puckered so tight you couldn't pull a pin from it with a tractor, you know? And she'll be like, oh my god, yeah, you know? And that brings up another thing, is that when you make fun of other people, it creates a sort of bond between the two of you, because it's almost like you're confiding in them your dislike of something else, and you can be united in your dislike for something. So if she talks about something that she doesn't like, or someone she doesn't like, pounce on that, start making fun of it, and she'll start making fun of it too, and before you know it, you two have created a bond over that.
When I first got my VR.
Okay, so use ridicule to ridicule other people, but never, ever,
ever. It felt weird for like the first 5 minutes.
The girl that you're with, okay? When you turn ridicule on someone else,
and then after that, it was perfectly fine,
or what have you. What you want to do is, if you're going to target the girl that you're with, tease her, okay? And there's a difference between ridicule and teasing, okay? Good-natured teasing is funny, but if you take it too far, it becomes ridicule, okay? So when you tease a girl, it's kind of, you know, I'll use an example that we used in the past, where, you know, you start making fun of an outrageous fetish that she has, okay? Like, let's say she really likes Brussels sprouts, or, okay, I got a better one. Let's say she really likes Chinese food, okay? And she's sitting there, she's like, oh my god, this Chinese food's so good. And I'm just like, oh, look at you, you know. You're so into Chinese food. If Chinese food were a man, you'd totally have sex with it. You know, that's an example of teasing, but, you know, like, looking at a girl and saying, like, oh my god, you look so fat in those jeans. You know, that's not teasing, that's being
I don't want to
so
fuck that
you
Chinese
walk that
slut.
Fine line. But if you ever got to ridicule someone, always ridicule someone other than yourself or the girl that you're with. Make sure that it's someone that she doesn't like, or someone in authority, like, for instance, the president, you know. Even if she likes the president or she dislikes the president, whatever, it's always funny to make fun of people who have some kind of authority position. You can also make fun of her boss, or your boss, whatever. Someone that has some kind of authority over you. Hey guys. Next one that I want to talk about is impression. The fact of the matter is, everybody loves impression. Even the bad ones, right? So, when you're telling a story, always do impression of the character. You and your friend Bob, and every time, you know, Bob says something, you do it in the Bob voice. Bob voice is something like a really type thing. There's a guy in my favorite friend, and his name is Adam. And me and my friend always do impersonation of Adam whenever we tell stories. And I talk about my friend Silver, which I use this Adam impersonation. And it's kind of funny because, you know, Adam has this really deep voice, but when we do our impression of him, we make him sound like a complete idiot. So they're like, yeah, I really like that, yeah. And that's our Adam voice, okay? And it totally sounds nothing like it, but it's a funny voice, so like when we tell the stories to the girls and we use our Adam voice, the girls really laugh and they're like, "Did you really talk like that?" And we're like, "No, he's got like a really deep voice, but we just like to use that voice." And before long, you know, sometimes the girls even start using that. So you don't even have to worry you can't use good impressions. Use bad impressions and brag about how bad they are. So for instance, like let's say you're doing an impression of the girl you're with. Obviously it's hard for them to voice you. You can just do it in a really high-pitched, shrilly voice, like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to go out. Why are you making me go out to dinner with you? I don't even like this place. You know, you can start pretending like that's like your impression of her. She's like, I don't sound like that. And you're like, I don't sound like that. You know? And it's a bad impression, but it's funny. And another way you do it is to do an impression of celebrities or really people. Talking about the president, do an impression of the president. Doesn't matter if it's good or not. Just take what you've seen done on TV and try and emulate it best you can. People really respond well to impressions because it's
when
kind of
I
like this
played
theatrical
VR,
performance. Even if it's not very good, like you're creating a whole new character that they can get into.
I have my
Hey, guys.
little mat.
All right, the next thing I want to talk about when it comes time to be funny is talking with stereotypes.
And then
Now,
directly
all
behind me is
stereotypes
my
are funny
bed.
because there's always some measure of truth to it. Even if they're completely offensive and out of left field, they're still funny. So, for instance, if you're like an uptight white guy like myself, throw in some ghetto speak. When I meet up with a girl, like if I call her up on the phone, one of the first things out of my mouth is sometimes, "Hey, what's the dealio?" I don't really talk like that. I don't say like, "What's the dealio?" Like it doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. But when I'm calling up a girl and I want to be funny and playful, I use like what I like to call ghetto speak, which, like ebonics and stuff like that. It's like call her up, "Hey, shorty, what's happening?" I mean, like really, dumb stuff like that when it comes to me saying it.
Also,
now on the flip side of that, if you're a ghetto black guy, talk like an uptight white guy. Dave Chappelle does this really well, where he has this very white voice that he uses
I think
sometimes.
I used up all my energy in
That's
Discord
funny,
earlier.
because you're kind of playing into this stereotype that white guys have like this very proper diction and they're very uptight.
That's what I'm blaming today
like
on.
Hong Kong Phooey, with like the Asian voice, go for it, because Asian guys can pull that off. Even though it's like very offensive and stereotypical, it's funny. If you're an Indian, talk like Habib, like the guy from The Simpsons. It's like, "Thank you've come again," that type of thing. You can get away with it because you're Indian, if other people are doing it, it might be offensive, but you gotta take stereotypes instead of being offended by them, use them to your advantage. And when you do this, you want to take those stereotypes and blow them way out of proportion, like just take them
I
to
have
their furthest
like
extreme.
0
People love
thoughts
it.
now.
Okay,
My
another
head
thing
is
sarcasm.
completely empty.
And sarcasm is probably the easiest type of humor to do. Retarded people. The more intelligent someone is, the more they can appreciate sarcasm. People with low self-esteem, they don't really like sarcasm. Because some often it's offensive. There's a show that used to be on Central, it's called The Pig Call. And it's basically a sketch comedy show, and they had a sketch on there called Sarcasm Man. And basically it was this guy who had a speech impediment where everything he said sounded really sarcastic. And people were always pissed off at him because it always sounded like, he was just like making fun of them. So, someone would come up to the guy and they'd be like, "Hey, what's happening?" He's like, "Oh, hi, Jim.
I have so much stuff I want to work on.
You gotta be like, "Dude, why are you being so mean? Like, I just can't do it." What? I'm not
And
being
like so
mean.
many games I want to play.
And it went on like that for like a good 10-15 minutes, where the guy was upset, and the guy would have to explain, like, "Oh, I'm not being sarcastic. I have a speech impediment. It's a real problem." And, that was kind of like.
And I've done, like, nothing but play League of Legends for, like, a full week
You
straight.
basically gotta act like the person who's constantly idiot. You have to lower yourself to their level.
Is it over for me?
You have to superiority. There's not much you can do. And oddly enough, lots of girls really love sarcasm. A lot of girls have a very sarcastic opinion themselves. Like they're really sarcastic. So if you're a guy, you got the kind of sarcastic. So, and another thing I was just want to point out is a lot of the stuff I've been going through with you guys with so far in this presentation is stuff I've learned from women. Like this is all humor that I've gotten from girls that knew about. Like that sounds like what he's going to do that's funny. It's very easy for like a girl to act like she's better than you. smarter than you, to talk down to you in order to do that. If you're dealing with sarcastic humor, someone else play into it. Just act like you're a complete retard and be like, you're right, man can't talk, you know. Just go with it. If someone's kind of treating you like that, take it to its, you know, logical extreme. When you're dealing with someone who's sarcastic,
I need to get on my After Effects grind set.
But if you're dealing with someone who's not sarcastic, who has, you know, low self-esteem, who's kind of like sweet or whatever, you don't want to go the sarcastic route. Hey guys! Another thing I love to do is use nicknames. Nicknames can be a lot of fun and they can be really funny. And the more ridiculous the nickname, the better. One of the cool things about nicknames is that it really does create a bond between two people, because when you name something,
I also need to, like,
certain sense of
actually
ownership,
complete
and
this
it also
stream
becomes
layout.
a type of inside joke between
This was
the two of you.
supposed to be
A good
temporary.
example of this is one time I started dating this girl. Her name was Katie, and her email address was something like Goofy Kate, you know, 123 or something like that. And when I got emails from her, it was always, you know, from this Goofy Kate email address, so I just started calling her Goofy Kate.
Greetings.
And eventually that got shortened to Goofy. And every time I'd see her, I'd be like, hey, what's up, Goofy? You know? And, you know, she'd laugh and, you know, whatever. But to me and her, it was, you know, she was Goofy. You know, that was her name. There was another girl I met where I used to call her Fuzzy Bunny. You know, I don't even remember why. I just called her, like, you know, like Fuzzy Bunny for no real good reason, but that name kind of stuck. You know, she was my little fuzzy bunny. And you know, as long as like you're not calling women like really offensive names, you know, like bitch, slut, hoe. You know, even though I have had girls who I nicknamed that never to their face, but whatever.
Hello?
You know, you kind of have this kind of endearing inside joke.
Bitch, slut, puff.
And whenever you're in a relationship with someone, eventually nicknames might kind of pop up. So it's always good to kind of like be the first one to go out there and do that, and start, you know, referring to them in that sense. Hey guys. All right, bad jokes. Good jokes are hard.
Okay.
Bad jokes are easy. That's just the way
But
it's
League
worded
of
right
Legends,
there.
I
So
like
if you're gonna tell
unironically
jokes,
want to get very
don't even
good
try
at
to tell
it.
good jokes. Just use bad jokes. They're easy. You can go online and find like a billion bad jokes.
I accidentally unplugged my headphones.
And remember our little talk of maturity earlier, first grade humor is always funny. So use bad jokes that is kindergarten. Now, it might not get you an actual laugh from a girl, but it doesn't matter because it's a playful thing. It's fun. It's also a game. So for instance, you know, you just look at it like after a long conversation, you just say, like a monkey calls. Dead. I mean, that's a bad joke, but it's fun to do that in a good way. So you like the idea of like the game who can tell the worst joke. And another thing I like to lump in the bad joke category is bad pickup lines, because once you get to know a girl, like once you're talking to her and meeting her and like dating and stuff like that, bad pickup lines actually work. You know, surprisingly enough, they do. Like, you know, you just meet up with a girl, you go to movies, for instance, and you're like, damn, girl, did you watch this movie? Like, that's a really bad thing to work. But if you already know the girl and you use that, she's gonna like, you know, think it's funny for you to let it go.
You definitely do not have to be good to do that. You just have to be really obnoxious in the chat.
It's really cool. Hey guys. Alright. Another favorite tactic of mine is to steal stuff. It's already funny. You know, it's hard to think of funny stuff on here, but you know, there's tons of stuff out there that's already like guaranteed to make people laugh. So think of great ways that you use them. You know, talk about them for your own gain. Tell the joke in a story as if you're impersonating a comedian.
Miscalculate?
I don't know if you've ever seen, you know, people like Chris Rock in stand-up. these guys are really, really funny. And you can even say to a girl, it's like, hey, you ever watch Chris Rock? And she's like, oh, I love Chris Rock. Good. And you can say like, oh my god, I saw his stand-up one time, and he has this story about, like the only goal of a guy who has a daughter is to keep her off the stripper pole. And then you can actually go into the exact same routine that Chris Rock uses in his stand-up and just like repeat it word for word, and it's still funny. Like, women get it, like there's this whole other Chris Rock thing about having the dick in the jar, like how every woman has like a guy friend who, in case she breaks up with her current boyfriend, she goes to him and just uses him for the rebound, and he calls that the dick in the jar, break in case of emergency. So I love Chris Rock stuff, so I have a lot of his stuff memorized, so that if there's a lull in the conversation, or I want to make the girl laugh, or talk about something funny, or take the conversation in a new direction, I can just pull out, something I love from Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Robin Williams, whoever, and just start, reciting it word for word, and maybe even do an impression of them while I'm doing it. So steal stuff that's already funny. It works really good. Okay, now let's talk about self-depreciation, okay? This is the type of humor where you're basically making fun of yourself. And of course, people love ridicule as long as it's not directed at them. Now, self-depreciation humor actually does a lot of good things on your behalf, because if you're able to be self-depreciating, it shows that you're cool, because you can poke fun at yourself and not get upset. And women really like it when a guy has the ability to kind of make fun of himself, because it shows that he's not pompous, that he doesn't have hubris, and that he's confident enough to kind of, take a licking and not kind of get angry.
What are you doing? Just putting on some sunscreen. That's not sunscreen. That's sunscreen. Ah!
Experience the best. Experience to make you...
Slipstream aligned. Surpassed expectations.
While we... Wow. We... Okay. But for real, I think I'm gonna end for today. I think I'll come back tomorrow. Definitely earlier. 1,000,000,000% earlier. And definitely with more energy. I'll do VR chat. And then possibly transition into Plants vs. Zombies. And if I don't do that, then I'll do Plus vs. Zombies the next day. But, yeah, I am going straight to sleep now. Okay. Bye. Bye.